How do you, Harvey? Good to be back and here for another session. Going pretty well, thanks.
Perfect, mate. And how's business over on your side of the country this week?
Oh, it's still humming along. We're still a bit worried about the whole coronavirus issue, so we're just watching those numbers, and people are being optimistic and trying to do the right thing. So far, you know, they're good.
Victoria's certainly copping a hammering, aren't they? Still,
Yeah,
it's quite unfortunate for them. But we're pretty good over here in WA. We seem to be the furthest away from anything. But
that's a benefit, isn't it, at the moment?
Things are ticking along okay. Mate, sales is on the tip of our tongue this week. Last week, we brought in about what a sales process should include, the key elements in a sales process. But I guess what I wanted to bring to the fore tonight was assessing your current sales system in your business and asking the question to the audience is, do you have a sales prevention department in your business as opposed to actually a sales department or sales acquisition or department that actually gets you sales? The reason I say that is, have you ever been into a store before, a place of business where you've walked in with the frame in mind that you're going to purchase something on the day, and the initial reaction, your initial interpretation of that business was not that great, to the point where you didn't feel very welcome, and you were basically not that keen to do business there, based on the fact the way you were treated from the moment you first arrived on at the premises, or whether it be on the phone. Steve, I'm not sure if you've had any of that type of experience before. I certainly have.
Oh, mate, yeah. As both the customers and as talking to business owners, some business had very good sales prevention departments, I have to say, and you get first-hand experience of them. And the funny thing is that the owners are not even aware that this is going on, and a lot of people that have bad experiences often say, "Oh, they should get some training," but no one ever tells the owners. They're oblivious to what's going on here, and it costs them a fair bit in lost sales.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll give you a classic example I experienced recently. I was doing some investigative work for a client of mine, and went into a competitor's place of business. And from the moment I walked in, I was completely ignored by the floor staff, to the point where I went looking for someone to help me out, and then came across one of the staff members eating his lunch off the front counter, wrapper all open, a mess everywhere on the front counter. And I'm like, okay, sorry, mate, I'm just going to carry on and look myself and start heading for the door. So it's that initial impression as you either walk into the business or pick up the phone, how well you're treated as a customer before you've even thought of having that buying transaction. So, Steve, what are some things we can look at when trying to improve our sales prevention department and actually turn it into something that's generating or converting at a much better rate for us?
Yeah, I should say that when you do see that, it's not always the fault of the person that could be doing it. That person could be eating their lunch there because they want to be more efficient, and they don't realise that having a lunch in front of the customer could be a bad thing. And a lot of these things are simply because people have never had, some sort of training or process that tells them how to run the business and how to interact with the customer. So it's not just trying to ridicule people who might be serving. They might just think they're doing a good job and inadvertently causing this. And the first point of the customer content is a great opportunity to engage and develop rapport with a customer, because that customer comes into a business with a certain buying criteria in their head. They have a certain wants and they have an idea of what they're after. And if you engage well with the customer at that point and you develop that rapport, you can actually change that buying criteria, and they may buy more from your business, and they may come back for other products later. So it's a great opportunity to get them into a sales process. And part of this is having a process there, because people People don't usually think about this. So if they're the first thing is to have a process, and the second thing is to actually have a system to train, and that could be role playing. It could be, measuring it. If you don't measure it, it won't happen. So just have a process where you can put this training into effect. You can help people, make it fun for them. It doesn't have to be a chore, and then measure the progress. Those are some very simple approaches you can start today to improve the customer interaction and their experience.
Yeah, sure. I like the idea of when you talk of a process, things like role playing, things like developing a script that the person at the front desk or wherever it may be uses in that initial contact with the customer, and as well as developing that first conversation they have, building rapport, and really developing that relationship early. If that comes across as well greeted and a conversation that they feel comfortable and happy in being there, or being on the phone, then they're much more likely to develop further through the sales process, aren't they?
That's right, mate. And it takes practice, and it may be the case that some people it won't work for them. And at that point, you need to have a look at, well, are they the right person to be in that role? And that is another possibility. That's another outcome of this process, is to take a hard look at the people that are working in your team, and just find out if there's an issue with them working that way. It could be that they may need to look at other opportunities, and that's a possibility. But it's not often the case. People are usually pretty good, and they understand the value of this stuff.
Yeah, and I think the value of that training in the area, as often as required, to make sure that, like you mentioned before, it might not have been that fella's fault that was eating his lunch there. It could have just been the fact he didn't have any guidance or didn't exactly know how.
I remember when I was a young fella, way back, going away about now, and I used to work in Grace Brothers, and I used to take all my lunch in there, and I used to eat it behind the counter, and I just thought, look, that was just being efficient. And I didn't go for lunch. I kept working through it until somebody told me, look, it's not a good look. And some people just don't realize that what they're doing is a bad thing. That's all. It's a very simple thing.
I think something else that is something to work on as well with the sales department or sales team is a customer needs analysis. So perhaps a series of questions that they are needed to ask to be able to gather required information to figure out whether or not you can actually help that person on the spot, or whether you can help them by moving them forward through the sales process. Would you agree on that, Steve?
Yes, mate. And the first thing to do is to just listen, ask them the questions. And one of the great strategies, if someone's in a shop, say, look, is this the first time you've been in the shop? It's a great icebreaker, and it's a way to get them conversing. And then just listen to what they're after. And it may be that you can't help that customer, and if that be the case, then you might send them to your competitor, and that looks great. If you can't help them, then you send them to someone who can, and really you're coming from a position where you are serving the customer and trying to find out what their needs are. So needs analysis is a great way to do that.
Fantastic. And I think another big one, which is so powerful, we spoke a lot about this last week, is the indoctrination component of a sales process. Sometimes it is difficult to factor that in depending on your sales process, but indoctrination meaning powerful marketing pieces such as testimonials or case studies that can be delivered to the prospect prior to them coming to actually sit with you on a sales presentation or on a phone call where you will try and close a deal. I think the fact of having somebody else telling your prospect about how good you are or how well they've been treated, the results they've managed to get is so much more powerful coming from somebody else rather than yourself. And what else? Yeah, case studies, another powerful, because you're displaying or demonstrating the results you've been able to provide for a previous client. Anything else on that we could put as a marketing piece in there, Steve, do you think?
That's right. It's usually like there's 3 things to remember. Get them to a number 10 on your product, get them to a number 10 on you, and get them to believe that it's the right thing for them. So if you can get them to a 10 on those 3 items, then they're in a position, they're in their mind, they're in a position where they're ready to buy. So.
Absolutely. I think you put it really well there, and using indoctrination, testimonials, case studies is so powerful in raising that bar to a number 10 in all those areas, I think. Now, another area which is very powerful to work on is when you're actually on the sales day, how well have you developed your sales proposal to that prospect as well? Is it filled full of just features about the product or the service you provide? It's important to know about all the features that you can that come with your service or your product, but is it more so filled with the benefits and the results that they can expect when they do business with you, when they make a transaction? I think is much more important when you agree on that, Steve, about making sure that you're delivering results, not just delivering a service packed full of features.
Yeah, that's right, mate. It's so many sales processes start off with a presentation of all the product features. It's what's in it for me is really the thought that is in the customers. It should be the thought of all your presentation. It's always about the customer. They're not interested in the features. They're interested in what the benefits are to them. So as long as you keep that in your mind, you're on a good principled way to have an interaction with a customer that it's going to keep their attention.
Absolutely. And then following on from that, we also touched on this area last week too, but it's just as powerful as any area of the process. Is the follow-up state, the follow-up system, preferably automated. How powerful follow-up is in actually landing a client, because there is quite often times when that person may not be quite ready to transact on the day. That's not saying that they're not going to buy. It could be just at a delayed time down the track. Steve, there's a number of touch points leading up to the point of sale, and if you haven't, or they are the type of person that requires a few more touch points, then it's your follow-up system that's going to deliver on that.
That's right, mate. And that's part of your marketing that comes before the sales process, I guess, is where each customer, usually they need about 7 to 8, these days sometimes up to 12 interactions with your business or your marketing before they're in a ready, solution aware, product aware, and then you aware. So that takes some time to move up those stages to where they're ready to go to your sales process. And at that point, yes, you will be front and center in their mind. And those follow-ups, they say the fortune's in the follow-up. So especially when you have a customer, it's very expensive to get a customer. So you want to make sure that you keep following up and keep them active and keep them coming back to your business, because it's very valuable and it's a very cost-effective way to continue your marketing. So for sure.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely, mate. Steve, I think the big takeaway out of this evening is for business owners that are looking to improve in profitability is to take a good chunk out of what they're currently doing and have a look at just your sales department. You might be a business that is generating a lot of leads, doing well in that department, but so much more money can be made by making sure you're converting those leads at the highest and most efficient rate possible, is to document down what is your sales process from the moment the lead comes in to the moment of the transaction, is to go through and work out, well, what are we doing? What journey are we taking that prospect through to onboard them as a client? And you will, we've explained tonight and last week, if you need to revisit last week's episode, about certain points in a sales process that is going to build that prospect to a number 10 in all three areas, and really and get them on board as a customer. So improving sales conversion is one of the main profit drivers in a business, and brings so much more money to the table. And it's not costing you any extra money to do it either, is it? Is it, Steve?
That's right, mate. You want to shut down that sales prevention department. You want to redeploy them to sales creation. So
yeah,
watch out for that department.
And it's also there's a lot of, you can make it a fun environment to be in for your sales team, to help them out with the training, but also incentivize it for them as well. Incentivize it meaning offer some sort of rewards for reaching certain targets of sales or conversions for a week or a month. That way they'll be vested into your sales training and wanting to get better at the skill of sales conversions and closing deals for you. So I think that's a very important point too, is to take care of the staff in that department. Unlike the lad we spoke about at the beginning unwrapping his sandwich on the desk, he probably just didn't realise and had the training that he needed to be the forefront of the business, the first interaction customers have. So it's not necessarily their fault, but enroll them into what they need to become, and that is successful at selling for your business. Anything else do you think, Steve, tonight we need to speak on, mate?
I don't think so, mate. That covers it all pretty well. We've probably covered a lot of stuff, and a lot of good information tonight, a lot of good discussion on good principles of selling and how to think about a sales process and your customers, for sure.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you taken a lot out tonight. If you did find some value in tonight's episode on how to turn what you may have a sales prevention department into a conversion department, give it a like, give it a share, give us a comment down below, and tell us what you liked and what you would like to see more of on Crown Business TV. If you're after more information on ways in which to grow your business, put a link in the comments below as well, where you can get a report outlining the 4 key areas, the 4 key principal drivers to grow your business. There's a free item there you can grab if you like, and which will be in the comments below. So thanks for joining us this week, Steve. Much appreciate your input, mate.
Always
I know you love